All right. So in the previous video, we talked about what is a story map, and hopefully we were able to get you the point across that visual way of representing a backlog is way more powerful than flat backlogs. You can find the link for the previous video in the top right corner. In this video, we want to deep dive more into the other benefits of story mapping and why should you do story mapping. All right. So I think one of the most powerful things about a story map is that it lets you tell a story, right, in a very simple manner and in a very visual manner, and you can tell a story to anyone depending who you are narrating the story to, right. For example, if you were narrating the story to a person who's not very interested in the details, like a very prominent stakeholder, you would probably just stick to the top level where you say, okay, a starving Soumya returns home hungry every night and is in no mood to cook. She opens Wiki, chooses a restaurant, chooses a dish, pays, and gets order, right? It's a very powerful way to do to say that whatever your product is doing for the user. If you want to go into a bit more detail, the task level, you can again say, okay, I can choose a restaurant by location, by delivery time, and then choose a dish, right? So it lets you tell a story, basically, right? And I think ultimately, our job is to tell powerful and compelling stories. And story map lets you do that. Okay, moving on. It also helps us to break the entire major user journey into very small granular details without losing the sight of the big picture, right? So every detail that we add to our backlog, we can immediately see the impact, or we can immediately see its impact on the user goal. If there is a task which is not creating any impact on the user goal, we will never prioritize it, or that card will never even go on the map. Okay. Also, it helps us create a shared understanding, which means that if things are flat, it's very difficult for us to understand, and it may happen that everyone on your team, either stakeholders or the internal team members, will have a very different idea of what the product's goal is, what the product is doing, and what we are doing, how much have we already done with respect to whatever our product goal was. If you visually represent, story map just creates a very shared understanding. And we've seen in the past that devs coming up to us and saying, okay, if this was the user goal, maybe there's a better way of doing it, and we've prioritized those stories much more. So it lets people get creative. It gets people on the same page. Sumit, would you agree?
I would, and to that I have a question for you. Who are our stakeholders as BAs?
Right, the team and the clients.
Correctamundo. So it's the team and the clients. And so shared understanding is across both those stakeholders. And also, since we talk about this in the context of ThoughtWorks, or just about any services company, right? Our teams are never constant. People roll onto the team, they roll off the team. There could be, exits that happen. Your sponsors could change, right? People move on to different roles in client organizations, and you would like that shared understanding is easily, people can be onboarded to that shared understanding really quickly. And that's one of the big features of story maps, that not just does it help you create shared understanding in the beginning, it's easy to get people on the same page regardless of when they join your team.
And by shared understanding, it is also about evolution of the understanding. Because when more people interact, more people evolve, they're all coming with a single goal in mind to improve the product, then you're actually talking about the best way in which the product goal can be achieved. Right. Okay, moving on. It also helps us identify the gaps in certain journey, right? So if I see this particular journey, open Swiggy, choose a restaurant, choose a dish, pay and gets order, it immediately comes to my mind, hey, there is something missing between payment and getting my order, which is tracking order. If this was a part of a list, it would, I'm not saying it would, nobody will be able to spot that, but it just, a visual representation just makes it easier for us to spot the missing pieces.
Yeah, and it also gives you a, once you start building this out with the team, it also gives you a placeholder to say, all right, at some point we need to consider the delivery person's journey, or the journey of people in the back office. You've got something around, oh, I choose a dish and I pay for that dish. What about the journey for a restaurant, right? How will they, participate in order fulfillment?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that happen in this whole storytelling process.
And a story map encourages you to ask those questions and makes it easier for you to ask those questions. Right. Okay. All right. Now here, imagine if you are working with different teams. Taking the Swiggy example, if one person was working on order fulfillment, other team was just working on let's say adding to the cart, the customer journey, right? Now here, everything needs to happen, right? A customer should place the order should be fulfilled, and then like again, a customer journey starts where they get the order and they track the order. So the entire journey, you can see all of that together, whatever is happening with the customer, whatever is happening in the background, and so on. So here you can immediately say, whenever we cut our first slice, what from each of the team needs to get done, and you can immediately track those interdependencies very well in a visual manner. Right. Also, last but extremely important, that it encourages iterative improvement over just incremental delivery. And by incremental delivery, we mean like, hey, you make a wheel, then you make the base, the platform of the car, you make the doors, and then the car is ready. Right? More often than not, we hear a scooter becomes a bike becomes a motorbike, and then it becomes a car. And that is not the idea that we're encouraging about iterative improvement, because if our goal was always to make a car, we could say that, okay, first a car will just, you can go from point A to point B in a car in a closed roof with just two people. The second version would be two people and some luggage. The third version could be a more sophisticated car, slightly better. And then like the last one is a finished with more performance and more efficiency and so on. And at every step of the way, we are getting feedback from our customers, from our users, from our stakeholders, in order to get to the end goal. And that's what story encourages.
Yeah, and I think just the nuance that I'm hoping is quite evident from the images. If you look at the first set of images, right, you don't really have a usable product, despite the fact that you're delivering incrementally. Yeah. I mean, right here, until this point, you can't use anything. Yeah. Here, you could arguably use something, but if I wanted to travel weatherproof, then neither does this actually solve my problem, nor does this solve my problem, nor does this solve my problem. So if indeed traveling weatherproof was the value I'm seeking, then this idea of iterative improvement gives me a product that's usable at each stage of the product's journey.
Yes. All right. So hopefully now you have a better idea of why should we do story maps. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to build one.
All right, let's go there.